was the second watch today. Li Yao and the others waited very patiently, as if they were snipers in hiding, ready to launch a fatal laser cannon at any time. Ape Mountain Range, LuoFeng's base. In the dark cave, LuoFeng was sitting cross-legged with his Wu Xan Xiang Tian, as he absorbed the universe's energy into his body and converted it into genetic energy. LuoFeng purposely controlled the genetic energy in his arm to flow into his left elbow, and waves of numbness began to spread. After a while, his injured elbow couldn't absorb any more genetic energy, so LuoFeng stopped. The effect of dragon blood is indeed very good. Although my physical fitness improved a lot last time, a lot of the dragon blood's energy is still hidden in my body. When I cultivated just now, a lot of the energy fused into my body. My elbow feels a lot more comfortable. I'm sure it'll be completely healed in another 2 or 3 days. LuoFeng slightly moved his left elbow and couldn't help but to let out a smile. The improvement of a martial artist's strength was a kind of evolution of life. After reaching the beginner level Wargod level, LuoFeng's immunity and recovery abilities are much stronger than before. Okay, let's see where Li Yao and the others are and what they're doing. LuoFeng put on his backpack and swiftly dashed out of the cave. In the wilderness. LuoFeng moved, yelled Klein excitedly. Li Yao, who was standing nearby, also had his eyes glittering, but he was still staring at the radar in silence. In the mountain range. LuoFeng traversed within the mountain range, his gaze cold. If there's a chance, I'll teach them a lesson. I've killed quite a few of them before. Alright, they seem to have brought a lot of boxes with them. You came all the way to Australia to kill me and you even brought so many boxes with you. It must be something important. When the time comes, destroy it as well. Something's wrong. LuoFeng fiercely stopped and half squatted on the waist of the mountain. His expression changed greatly. Box? Chasing after him from so far away and carrying so many boxes? And you're so careful when you move the boxes? As LuoFeng thought about it, all the hairs on his body stood up. If I were Li Yao and had 100% confidence in killing a spirit reader, what method would I use? As long as the spirit reader can fly, Li Yao won't be able to kill him no matter how powerful he is. As for weapons that can threaten Wargod-level spirit readers, among humans there are only 2 types. One is a nuclear weapon, the other is a laser cannon. LuoFeng's face changed. This Li Yao actually brought a laser cannon here? LuoFeng was only a 19-year-old youth. Even though China's education broadens people's horizons subconsciously, LuoFeng always believed that laser cannons and nuclear weapons were the 2 trump cards of humanity's firearms. These were the strongest moves against monsters. How could he have imagined that Li Yao would use a laser cannon against him? However, at this time, LuoFeng was thinking of ways to deal with spirit readers from Li Yao's point of view. He deduced, probably only the laser cannon. In addition, he had seen so many boxes before, which confirmed his guess. Laser cannons. According to what we've been taught in physics, laser cannons have always been highly restricted. Generally, only airborne laser cannons can be used in all-terrain combat. Those that are fixed on the ground are affected by the fact that the Earth is spherical and the ground is curved. A lot of information regarding the laser cannon swiftly appeared in LuoFeng's mind. Keep in mind that LuoFeng's strongest subject was science. If he didn't faint during the math exam, LuoFeng's score would probably be enough to get into the best schools. Plus, the laser cannon is probably the weapon that countless men are most curious about, so of course he would know a lot about it. Right now, I definitely can't show my head. Thankfully there's this mountain in the way, so they can't do anything right now. And once I show my head, they'll probably kill me. LuoFeng couldn't help but to sweat. What lingering fear. The laser cannon's power is too terrifying. First of all, the laser cannon moves at the speed of light. At the speed of light, LuoFeng probably won't even have time to think about dodging before he gets blasted to smithereens. Secondly, the power. Ever since the laser cannon's power reached an extremely high level, humans have the power to fight against monsters. This Li Yao sure is crazy. He's carrying so many boxes. If it's not a laser cannon, what else could it be? Other devices are useless in a battle between a spirit reader and a wargod. Run. I need to run far away, and the laser cannon's power is limited by distance. Once I'm too far away, they won't be able to find me. LuoFeng didn't want to show his head to scout anymore. That's not scouting. That's taking a risk. Who knows if Li Yao is aiming his laser cannon at me right now? If he shows his head, he'll be killed. Where should I go? LuoFeng immediately looked at the tactical communications watch on his wrist and brought up the satellite map of the surrounding area. Through the map, LuoFeng clearly knew the geography of the surrounding area. Li Yao's group is at the north side of the mountain range, so I better head south as fast as I can. Because of the mountain, they won't be able to attack me for a while. Here? There's a river around 3 kilometers from the mountain range. Water can refract light. When the laser cannon hits the river, it evaporates a large amount of gas and refracts the water. A large amount of energy is wasted. Once I'm deep in the river, I'll be very safe. LuoFeng was clear that the laser cannon is most afraid of heavy rain and fog. And he's deep in the river. The obstruction of water is much better than the obstruction of rocks and steel for the laser cannon. If I follow this river, 260 kilometers, I'll reach a large lake. According to the satellite map, this lake has a circumference of around 100 kilometers. LuoFeng was secretly happy. There were many large lakes in the continent of Australia, especially since some sea monsters came inland along the river and created many large lakes. Usually, these large lakes are the habitats of all sorts of water monsters. In the middle of this large lake, there's an island with a circumference of around 20 to 30 kilometers. Okay, I'll follow the river into the large lake and then pass through the lake to reach the island, thought LuoFeng to himself. A distance of around 200 kilometers, the laser cannon can't hit me from that distance unless I fly to an extremely high altitude. And the lake water around the island doesn't pose a threat to me. However, Li Yao can't fly, so he can only swim through the lake. After thinking about it and then, time to go. LuoFeng swiftly jumped down the mountain from the waist of the mountain and then followed the valley below as he swiftly headed south. On the wasteland, Li Yao's group. Why isn't he moving? This group of elites with different skin colors were all shocked. Even Li Yao frowned. Before, they were extremely excited when they saw the little dot of light swiftly heading up the mountain. Since everyone here probably wants to kill LuoFeng. If they kill LuoFeng, they'll earn money and also avenge the dead. He's turning around again, exclaimed Klein. He's not turning around, he's escaping towards the south, said Wargod James on the side as his expression changed. Indeed, the dot of light on the radar was swiftly heading south in the mountain range. Li Yao was silent the entire time. Slowly. Mr. Li, the target has already escaped the mountain range and is still heading south, said Klein hurriedly. This cunning kid, Li Yao squinted his eyes. Li Yao was already suspecting whether or not LuoFeng guessed that he was carrying a laser cannon. Even though normal people wouldn't be able to guess it with Li Yao's understanding of LuoFeng. This young man named LuoFeng is indeed extremely cautious and cunning. Looks like killing this LuoFeng won't be easy. James, said Li Yao quietly. Li James looked at Li Yao and his expression slightly changed. Don't tell me. This Li Yao wants him to deal with LuoFeng? That terrifying kid instantly killed his partner and Beiyuan gang, so James didn't have any thoughts of fighting him. Take my subordinates and carefully move this laser cannon to a mountain in the mountain range. Choose a place that can aim towards the south, commanded Li Yao. Remember, you have to be careful. Don't damage the laser cannon. James couldn't help but to let out a sigh of relief. Don't worry, it's only a few kilometers away. And we have so many people, said James confidently. James said confidently. It would be very difficult to move the laser cannon several hundred kilometers, but it was only a few kilometers. For a Wargod and many warlord-level martial artists, it was indeed not a problem. Very good, Li Yao looked towards Klein. Klein, remember, as soon as you get the chance, kill LuoFeng. The safety of this place. I'll leave it to you, James. Don't worry, nodded James. Klein, notify me of LuoFeng's location, commanded Li Yao. Yes, Klein replied. Li Yao's body immediately moved and turned into a black blur as he swiftly disappeared into the distance. With his terrifying speed of twice the speed of sound, he charged into the Ape Mountain range a few kilometers away in just a few seconds. LuoFeng's speed isn't as fast as Li Yao's, but once he explodes along with his spiritual force, his speed surpasses 500 meters per second. After charging out of the mountain range, LuoFeng dived into the river that was around 10 meters wide in just a few seconds. Even though there are monsters in this river, they usually aren't strong. The truly strong water-type monsters live in large lakes or oceans. Whoosh! LuoFeng, who was underwater, laid on his hexagonal shield and controlled his buoyancy. At the same time, he used his spiritual force on his battle boots and created a powerful propulsion force of over 200,000 kilograms. Whoosh! LuoFeng was even faster than a torpedo as he crazily dashed through the bottom of the river. And Li Yao, who charged out of the Ape Mountain range, howled towards his tactical communications watch. Where's LuoFeng? Mr. Li, there's a river 3 kilometers in front of you. LuoFeng is currently swiftly heading south along the river. His voice was still ringing as Li Yao sprinted towards the river at an astonishing speed. As he ran, sonic booms rang out continuously, scaring quite a few monsters away. After charging towards the river, he swiftly sprinted south along the river bank. In just a few moments, Li Yao and LuoFeng have already advanced a few dozen kilometers. Where's LuoFeng? Asked Li Yao. Mr. Li, the distance is too far. The radar can't find LuoFeng at all, carried Klein's voice from his tactical communications watch. Li Yao couldn't help but to stop. What? Can't find him? Li Yao looked at the sparkling river in front of him. How would he know where LuoFeng was? He clenched his teeth and dialed his wife Venina's number. Venina, hurry, give me LuoFeng's new phone number. And at this time, at the bottom of the river 8 kilometers away from Li Yao, LuoFeng was like a torpedo as he speedily advanced under the water. Why do you need his number? Venina's voice carried from the tactical communications watch. Hurry, no more bullshit, said Li Yao hurriedly. Venina's voice also carried a bit of anger. Yao, don't do anything stupid. If you want to confirm LuoFeng's location, the best way is through me. If you directly call LuoFeng, even though you can confirm his location, he can still find yours. And if you call him, he'll be suspicious. Venina was dissatisfied. I'll immediately think of a way to send his location to you. Li Yao frowned. He knew that his wife was right. Alright, hurry up, urged Li Yao. Paris headquarters city in a spacious room. 3 laptops were turned on at the same time. 2 men and 1 woman sat in front of the computers. Venina stood on the side and directly ordered, give me LuoFeng's home number and call him. Yes. Through the computer software, LuoFeng's tactical communications watch could easily display the number they wanted. The coordinates have been confirmed, said the black woman. Directly send it to Mr. ordered Venina. Li Yao, who was standing on the riverbank, couldn't help but to sneer as he looked at the coordinates. So he's only around 10 kilometers away from me. For Wargods, 10 kilometers is indeed nothing. Powerful fighters like Wargods, especially advanced level Wargods, have bodies that are countless times harder than diamond. Sniper bullets can't even break their skin, and one punch can weigh hundreds of thousands of kilograms. To these evolved beings, they're definitely human weapons. Their threat is even greater than an army. Whoosh. Like lightning, he chased after LuoFeng. As he chased, LuoFeng also advanced underwater. With LuoFeng's beginner-level Wargod fitness level, he can hold his breath underwater for around half an hour. Even a normal person can last a few minutes, so it's normal for LuoFeng to last half an hour. My tactical communications watch is vibrating? LuoFeng looked at the tactical communications watch in confusion. This is a tactical communications watch equipped with the 9th series battle uniform. Water resistance is just a small part of it. Caller ID, is it my home number? That can't be right, I didn't give it to my home. Is this my new number? LuoFeng was suspicious. LuoFeng used this new tactical communications watch number as bait to catch the Vulture Scorpion couple, so he didn't tell his family. LuoFeng used the cell phone he bought to contact his family. My parents are just ordinary people. If they wanted to contact me, they could have just called my cell phone. How could they have gone to such lengths to get my number from the elite training camp and called me? LuoFeng was clear that it wasn't difficult to make someone else's caller ID show a certain number. Trying to find me through my phone number? Sorry. LuoFeng grinned, pressed the button and pressed. Beep. The communicator was turned off. Indeed, there were two ways to prevent others from getting through to his phone and finding his location. The first was to directly throw away the tactical communications watch and separate from the person. The others had found the location of the tactical communications watch, but they didn't know where the person was. The second option was to remove the battery or shut down the phone. Power outage. Once the power was cut, the tactical communications watch was nothing more than a piece of metal. Beside the riverbank. What about the coordinates? I'm asking you, what about the coordinates? Li Yao couldn't help but to roar angrily as his face became ferocious. The tactical communications watch displayed Venina's video feed and she shook her head. Yao, that LuoFeng already cut off the power of the tactical communications watch. What do you mean? Li Yao's eyes were about to spit fire. I can't find LuoFeng's location, Venina shook her head. Li Yao clenched his fists in anger. Can't find him? He came all the way from Europe with his troops, but as soon as he arrived he was slaughtered by LuoFeng. Now, LuoFeng even cut off the power on his tactical communications watch, so he can't confirm LuoFeng's location. Then he can't even find LuoFeng, let alone kill him. All for nothing. Bastard, bastard. Li Yao was so angry that the veins on his forehead bulged. When Li Yao lost sight of LuoFeng, it was already evening. The sky was dark and a completely black triangular fighter jet was flying in the sky above the continent of Australia at an astonishing speed. In this fighter jet there was a pilot and 2 passengers. That Li Yao sure is ruthless. In order to deal with LuoFeng, he actually brought out a laser cannon. One of the 2 passengers laughed loudly. A lean Indian man with slightly curly hair spoke in slightly awkward Mandarin. He's completely crazy, so he's doing everything he can. Hee Puka, you even know how to speak idioms? Complimented the big and tall man. The Indian slightly smiled and didn't say much. Laser cannon. To be honest, even though I've reached this level, I've never personally seen a laser cannon in all these years. The big and tall man couldn't help but to sigh. That Paulinus family sure is a big arms dealer. The tall man couldn't help but sigh. That Paulinus family is indeed a big arms dealer. They control a lot of arms transactions and even got their hands on a laser cannon. The Indian coldly snorted. They've smuggled quite a few nuclear bombs and laser cannons. Suddenly the fighter jet slowed down. We're here, the big and tall man stood up. Puka, get ready to go down. Okay, the Indian slightly nodded. On top of a mountain in the Ape Mountain range, James and a group of elite fighters from the Paulinus family were resting. At this time, a triangular black fighter jet appeared in the sky. As soon as he saw this fighter jet, James' face changed. It's a fighter jet from the Dojo of Limits, said James in shock. From the Dojo of Limits, quite a few of the elite fighters on the side also recognized it. In the current world, the disc-shaped fighter jet is the mainstream. And these triangular fighter jets have never been as effective as the disc-shaped fighter jets. However, only the triangular fighter jets made by the Dojo of Limits have extremely powerful attacks. They can be called the world's #1 fighter jet. The American government, the European government, etc. all wanted the Dojo of Limits to publicize this fighter jet manufacturing technology. Sadly, Hong ignored them. So these fighter jets have basically become a symbol of the Dojo of Limits. Isn't that James? The hatch opened and 2 figures jumped down from the sky and landed on top of the mountain. Puka? Steel Sect? James was shocked. Any Wargod will join the Palace of Wargods, so James, who is also a Wargod, recognized these 2 famous people. James, who are they? The other elite fighters were a bit panicked. One look and you could tell that these 2 weren't normal people. The Earth Alliance forbids humans from using laser cannons against humans. The tall man's gaze swept across the group of people. The elite fighters felt as if their eyes were struck by lightning, painful and uncomfortable. Under the orders of the head, we're taking this laser cannon. What? Klein opened his eyes wide and yelled, this is our Paulinus family. Bullshit. The tall man's eyes were like lightning as he angrily scolded, asked James. Klein turned his head to look at the only Wargod on their side, James. James angrily scolded, "Why aren't you listening to these two lords? Do you know who these two are? They are Wargods from the Dojo of Limits. In a bit, just tell Li Yao the name's Puka and Steel Sect. He definitely won't dare to say anything." Klein froze. "Hurry, disassemble the laser cannon and put it in the box," ordered the tall man. Klein froze. "They came to take the laser cannon and they're actually making them disassemble it? If it's not you, then who is it?" scolded the tall man unhappily. James on the side also chimed in. Klein and the others could only listen helplessly. And at the same time, they quickly informed Li Yao of this news. Right when Li Yao thought that he couldn't find LuoFeng and was filled with rage, he received Klein's call. "Sir, the laser cannon has been taken. It's two people called Puka and Steel Sect." Upon hearing the first sentence, Li Yao wanted to curse on the spot, but upon hearing the second sentence, he forcefully swallowed the words he was about to curse back into his stomach. However, his complexion was somewhat purple from anger. Puka and Tai Zong? The Dojo of Limits Special Forces? And it's even a captain like Puka? As an old advanced level Wargod, Li Yao really doesn't care about Steel Sect's strength. However, Puka, that Indian genius fighter, graduated as one of the top 3 in the elite training camp. He's a genius who also has a black god set. And this Puka is one of Hong's disciples, so he's extremely strong. Through the virtual space, Li Yao had also fought with Puka twice and he was defeated in both battles. Just as I expected, this LuoFeng is only 19 years old, yet he has the strength of an advanced level Wargod level spirit reader. The Dojo of Limits definitely values him. And indeed, the Dojo of Limits probably use satellites to monitor LuoFeng's movements, squinted Li Yao. They found out that I brought a laser cannon and used it to kill LuoFeng. Since it won't be of any use, they immediately sent a special forces team to take it. Ruthless. Using me as a whetstone to train this LuoFeng? Vulture Li Yao stood there without moving. However, his eyes were extremely scary, as if he was a vulture that had been starving for 10 days and was on the verge of insanity. "My son died. My only son died. Using me as a whetstone? Haha. Hong, just watch, I'll make you regret this decision," said Vulture Li Yao in a low voice. After that, he carefully moved forward along the river. Li Yao. He will never give up and kill LuoFeng. After turning off his tactical communications watch, LuoFeng leisurely moved forward under the water. Occasionally he would take a few breaths and then continue to slowly move forward under the water. He wasn't in a rush. Only when it was nighttime did LuoFeng reach his destination, the lake that had a circumference of 100 kilometers. This vast lake would occasionally have weird noises coming from the bottom of the lake. At this time, LuoFeng stood on his shield and floated on the surface of the lake. He looked at the center of the lake with a shocked expression. How is this possible? This lake. The lake in front of him was completely covered by an endless amount of fog. The deeper he went into the center of the lake, the thicker the fog became. Even with the vision of a Wargod, he could barely see through 100 meters. The weird thing was, the fog around the lake was very faint. As for the land beside the lake, there was no fog at all. What is this place? LuoFeng felt the formless pressure. This lake was already very strange to begin with. In the dark night, it added an additional layer of mystery. LuoFeng subconsciously felt the pressure. Yeah, it's night right now and with the thick fog visibility is low. I'll check it out tomorrow morning. LuoFeng was very calm. He would rather wait until tomorrow morning than go in blindly. On this night, LuoFeng walked around the lake. It would take a long time to walk around the lake that had a circumference of 100 kilometers. However, with LuoFeng's speed, even if he walked and looked around, it didn't even take an hour for him to walk half the distance. Along the way, LuoFeng didn't discover anything special. After that, LuoFeng sat cross-legged in the grass and closed his eyes to rest. Very quickly the night passed. The morning of the second day the sun rose. LuoFeng stood in the grass and looked at the lake. The lake in front of him was still covered in a thick layer of fog. The further in he went, the thicker the fog became. However, there was no fog at all on the wasteland outside the lake. Indeed, it's the same day and night. This lake is always covered in fog. My visibility during the day is clearly much better than at night. Yesterday, LuoFeng's Wargod level vision could only see 100 meters away. A normal person would probably be lucky if they could see 5 meters away. And now that the sun has risen, LuoFeng can see around 200 meters. Honestly speaking, for a Wargod level fighter, 200 meters can indeed be crossed with a flash of their body. Let's go in and take a look. The hexagonal shield floated in front of him. LuoFeng jumped on the hexagonal shield and swiftly flew into the depths of the lake. The fog pervaded the air. The vast lake was filled with lush water plants. Occasionally there would be some weird cries. The surface of the water had waves that couldn't be seen with the naked eye. No wonder it's a lake with a circumference of over 100 kilometers. There must be a lot of water-type monsters here. LuoFeng was shocked. LuoFeng was shocked. He was moving underwater in the river from before. With that width and depth of the river, there shouldn't be any powerful water-type monsters, so LuoFeng had an easy time moving underwater. But a large lake like this, it's hard to say. And water-type monsters are famous for being hard to deal with. Because the ocean is the world of monsters, many strange and powerful monsters are born in the vast area of the ocean. So even Wargods aren't willing to enter the ocean, and they won't easily enter a large lake like this. Shio. LuoFeng swiftly flew forward, Everywhere he passed, the lake's surface was turbulent. Rip! A thick bolt of blue lightning suddenly lit up. The densely packed bolts of blue lightning instantly lit up the sky above the lake. The bolts of lightning twisted and shot in all directions like electric snakes. LuoFeng, who was caught off guard, had just dodged the first bolt of lightning when he was hit by the densely packed bolts of lightning that covered the sky. It's not that LuoFeng's dodging abilities are bad, it's just that these lightning bolts are randomly shooting out in midair. They're fast and without any pattern. Not good. LuoFeng felt his entire body go numb and his head go dizzy. His body fell from the sky. The freefall time was still relatively slow, not as fast as the war god. It would take 2 seconds to fall from a height of 20 meters. LuoFeng was completely startled awake. Right now he was only 6 to 7 meters away from the surface of the lake. He heard a weird roar and at the same time long green-scaled monsters ferociously shot out of the water. These long monsters even had lightning circling around their scales, and a few of them had horns on their heads. These long monsters all jumped out of the water and opened their bloody mouths to bite. F***ck off. LuoFeng roared. 6 beams of death shot out with LuoFeng as the center. The 6 throwing knives instantly sliced through the group of water-type monsters below. They even went around in an arc and pierced through many of the monsters. Suddenly these monsters all let out cries of pain. At the same time, some of the surviving long water-type monsters angrily let out bolts of lightning. Bolts of lightning flew across the sky like snakes. Whoosh. However, while LuoFeng was controlling the throwing knives, he stepped on the shield beside him and swiftly rose into the sky. Thankfully, these water-type monsters' lightning attacks weren't as unified as before, so LuoFeng was able to escape. Holy sh*t, I almost died here. After floating 50 meters in the air, LuoFeng realized that his forehead and back were covered in cold sweat. He's been through a lot and even dared to fight a high-level horde leader-level monster head-on? Who would have thought that he would almost die here today? If he woke up a bit slower, those monsters would have definitely crushed his head in one bite. These are electric eel-type water-type monsters? Iron wire electric eel. Horned electric eel. With a glance he discovered quite a few electric eel-type monsters below. There are over 100 types of fish-type monsters in the world that can discharge electricity. However, monsters also live in groups, and the ones that attacked LuoFeng were a group of electric eel-type water-type monsters. Electric eel-type monsters have always been terrifying existences for human fighters. Powerful electric eel-type water-type monsters, especially when they work together to discharge electricity, can even make a powerful wargod instantly faint. Under this state, even a wargod would be eaten. That would be a terrible death. Be careful, there are tens of thousands of these monsters and many of them have special abilities. If I'm not careful, I'll die. LuoFeng flew 50 meters in the air as he carefully flew forward. As he flew, he could hear all sorts of weird noises coming from the lake. Obviously, the amount of water-type monsters here was shocking. Howl. A horrifying howl exploded in LuoFeng's ear. At the same time, an unbelievable force instantly affected LuoFeng's body, causing him to uncontrollably fall downwards. Fuck. There's actually a water-type monster attacking me. LuoFeng desperately controlled his spiritual force to hover. However, his body still couldn't help but slowly fall. Whoa. An unbelievable gigantic whirlpool formed in the lake below. In the center of this whirlpool was a black hole. Under the white mist, this black hole was extremely blurry, and this black hole was crazily swallowing everything above it. The powerful swallowing force caused LuoFeng to be unable to fly away for a while. Keep in mind that LuoFeng's spiritual force is almost at the advanced level wargod level. Big guy. LuoFeng lowered his head and laughed. 2 SS-grade throwing knives immediately shot downwards towards the gigantic black hole. Yeah. An ear-piercing sound that sounded like a baby crying instantly rang through the sky. This sound was so loud and ear-piercing that LuoFeng couldn't help but to cover his ears. In the raging ocean water below, dark red blood was mixed in. And the black hole completely disappeared. The swallowing force disappeared. The 2 throwing knives landed in LuoFeng's pocket in midair. What a powerful monster. My throwing knives barely managed to break through its skin and were blocked by its bones. LuoFeng controlled the throwing knives, so of course he knew that the throwing knives only injured the monster slightly. Normally it roars in anger and fear. Sounds like a baby crying? Amazing swallowing force? What kind of water-type monster is this? In terms of monster types, the monsters on land are only a fraction of the water-type monsters in the ocean. There are over 10,000 types of monsters on land, so you can imagine how many types of water-type monsters there are. Plus, most fighters travel on land, so LuoFeng, like other fighters, doesn't know much about water-type monsters. He only knows a few common and famous ones. Let's continue forward, I want to see just how weird this lake is, mumbled LuoFeng. LuoFeng mumbled. However, at the same time, the 6 throwing knives floated around him. At the same time, they flew 30 meters higher, reaching a height of 80 meters. Finally, on a beach, LuoFeng landed. I finally arrived at the island in the middle of the lake. Sweat seeped out of LuoFeng's nose. He received quite a bit of scares along the way. Other than the electric eel-type monsters, LuoFeng also saw 2 large water-type monsters fighting and a 100-meter-long dragon eating. Anyway, the amount of powerful water-type monsters in this lake was unexpectedly high. Very weird. Logically speaking, having 2 or 3 powerful water-type monsters in a lake with a circumference of 100 kilometers is already amazing. But this lake. With just one flight, Luo Feng saw 7 or 8 extremely powerful water-type monsters. Not to mention that there are even more powerful monsters at the bottom of the lake. The density of powerful monsters is too high. It doesn't make sense. Something strange must have happened. Luo Feng walked out of the beach and looked at the dense forest in front of him. This island in the middle of the lake was like a primeval forest. Many thick trees stood tall and the vegetation was lush. Luo Feng couldn't help but to start floating higher and higher. He looked down at the island below. This mysterious island is covered in mist all year round, and the lake around the island contained large amounts of powerful water-type monsters. Not right, not right. Luo Feng's expression changed. This island, why is this island so quiet? Yes, it's quiet. After coming to the continent of Australia for so long, Luo Feng has never found a place this quiet. Even the wastelands have large amounts of monsters, but this misty island, not a single monster. No bird-type monsters, no land-type monsters. The entire misty island was extremely quiet. However, in the lake around the island, there were large amounts of terrifyingly powerful water-type monsters. There's something strange about this island. Something's wrong. Luo Feng has never felt such fear before. He doesn't know why. This ridiculously quiet island without any sounds of life made Luo Feng feel an unknown fear. Luo Feng landed on the beach and didn't enter the depths of the island at all. This lake is weird and the island is weird too. Luo Feng suddenly let out a smile. He extended his right hand and pressed on the tactical communications watch on his wrist. Press. Beep. The tactical communications watch activated. My tactical communications watch has been activated. Li Yao. You should be here soon, muttered Luo Feng. Even though Li Yao is powerful, Li Yao, who can't fly, can only swim across the lake. But with the power of the water-type monsters in this lake, even Li Yao will have a hard time crossing over alive. Paris headquarters city in a spacious room. 3 people sat in front of their laptops. One of them, a handsome white youth, exclaimed, "Madam, the call connected, the target's number is connected." "What?" said Venina, who was frowning. "The call connected, the coordinates have been confirmed," said the handsome white youth. "Immediately transfer it to Mr. ordered Venina. "Yes." The white youth excitedly transferred the coordinates to Li Yao, who was in the wastelands of the continent of Australia. In the vast wasteland, there were monsters killing each other at any time. Their goal was to kill each other and eat each other's flesh to fill their stomachs. However, a human warrior who was small and skinny compared to the monsters, was advancing alone in the wilderness. He did not avoid any monsters at all. Rampage. These monsters were like ants to him. Many monsters had attacked this human martial artist, but the result was that the smell of blood on this human martial artist's body became even thicker. The terrifying stench of blood, especially the scent left behind by the blood of some powerful monsters on his body, caused the monsters on the road to avoid him when they saw him. "Luo Feng. Luo Feng," murmured Li Yao like a ferocious beast. "You can hide, you can hide. You might be able to dodge it once, but you won't be able to dodge it forever." Li Yao never would have thought that hunting down a 19-year-old youth like Luo Feng would be so troublesome. However, there's no way Li Yao won't avenge his son. If he doesn't kill Luo Feng, he probably won't be able to sleep at night. Li Yao suddenly felt the tactical communications watch on his wrist vibrate. After looking carefully, his heart quivered. LuoFeng's coordinates? At the same time he received a call. "Hey," Li Yao hastily said. "Yao, it's me. You received LuoFeng's coordinates, right?" Venina's voice carried from the tactical communications watch. "You got LuoFeng's coordinates, are you sure?" hurriedly asked Li Yao. "Yao, we just got these coordinates. I don't know what's going on with that Luo Feng. His tactical communications watch is working again. This means that he probably turned on the tactical communications watch himself. I'm worried that this might be one of Luo Feng's schemes to lure you over," said Venina. "A scheme? A trap?" Li Yao couldn't help but laugh crazily. His laughter echoed in the surrounding wasteland. Not a single monster dared to approach this terrifying human. "I have the Black God set I got from the ancient civilization ruins. None of the Wargod experts can kill me. Unless it's an Emperor-level monster, an existence surpassing the Wargod level, or a laser cannon. And Luo Feng, I really can't think of any powerful moves he has." Li Yao was full of confidence. "Alright, whether this address is real or fake, I'm going to take a look," Li Yao said. "Yes." Venina didn't object. She is also an advanced level Wargod, so of course she knows her husband's true strength. There were 3 situations that could threaten Li Yao. 1. Laser cannon? How could Luo Feng get his hands on a laser cannon and operate it? 2. An existence surpassing the Wargod level. If Luo Feng could invite an existence surpassing the Wargod level, would he even need to scheme? A king-class monster. There would definitely be many Lord-class monsters around a king-class monster. Li Yao would have long since retreated when he realized that something was wrong. Why would he provoke a king-class monster? 120 kilometers away from here. Li Yao looked at the map. "Luo Feng, I hope you're there." After a terrifying sonic boom, Li Yao turned into a streak of blackness and dashed toward the southwest in a straight line. In the blink of an eye, he had already disappeared from everyone's sight. Someone whose speed was twice the speed of sound was indeed a terrifying existence. Next to the shore of the vast lake that was enshrouded in mist, a streak of brightness suddenly stopped and condensed. It was truly Vulture Li Yao in black with a cold face. This Luo Feng really knows how to hide. He actually chose a lake island filled with mist. With such a large amount of mist, the laser cannon can't be used at all. Li Yao couldn't help but to let out a mocking smile, mocking LuoFeng's unnecessary actions. From Li Yao's point of view, the laser cannon has already been confiscated by the Dojo of Limits. Without the laser cannon, isn't LuoFeng's actions unnecessary by hiding on this island filled with mist? Whoosh! Li Yao ferociously leapt tens of meters high and over 100 meters high. His entire body shot out like a cannonball. Chi-chi, black light rapidly extended from Li Yao's feet, quickly forming something similar to a rubber raft. This rubber raft formed from the black god, borrowed the momentum generated from Li Yao's previous leap to quickly ride the wind and break the waves on the surface of the lake. Sitting on the rubber raft, Li Yao held a single blade in each of his hands and occasionally paddled. With Li Yao's astonishing arm strength, every time he paddled, an astonishing amount of force would be generated. Howl, jia, hiss, all sorts of weird noises came from the bottom of the lake. However, Li Yao's expression was cold as he completely ignored the noises of the water-type monsters below. For an advanced-level wargod, normal water-type monsters in the lake indeed pose no threat to him. Sadly, Li Yao doesn't know the special characteristics of this lake. The black rubber raft sliced through the wind and waves of the lake at an astonishing speed as it swiftly advanced. What? Li Yao's face suddenly changed. An object that looked like a snake's tail, which was covered in purple scales, was as thick as a water tank, and was over 30 meters long, abruptly emerged from the surface of the water like a bolt of lightning. It drew an arc in the air and in less than 1/100th of a second, this thick and long purple scaled tail covered the rubber raft. The rubber raft under Li Yao's feet disappeared. Other than his eyes, mouth and nose, the rest of his body was protected by the black color. Li Yao stepped on the gigantic scaled tail like lightning and used the force to directly shoot up. What a long tail, what terrifying strength. Just this whip alone definitely has the strength of a high-level horde leader. There's actually such a powerful water-type monster in this lake? Li Yao was shocked. The moment Li Yao fell from midair and touched the surface of the water. Hiss. Bolts of blue lightning instantly covered the surrounding area like twisting electric snakes. Li Yao's ability to dodge on the surface of the water is much worse than on land, so he couldn't dodge at all and was hit by the lightning. Humph, thankfully my black god set is completely resistant to electricity. Li Yao let out a sigh of relief. Shishi. A white thread almost instantly wrapped around one of his legs. An unbelievable force fiercely pulled on the thread. Not good. Li Yao's face changed greatly. With a putong, Li Yao's entire body was completely submerged in the lake. On the beach of the Misty Island, LuoFeng sat cross-legged like a statue. Walala, the water of the lake beside him rippled and occasionally crashed against the beach. However, the weird thing was, none of the water-type monsters dared to climb onto the shore. After a while, LuoFeng, who was sitting cross-legged, opened his eyes. Why isn't this Li Yao here yet? Could it be? When he passed through the lake, he died in the lake? LuoFeng let out a smile. It wouldn't be weird if he really died in the lake. With his black god set, he'll probably be hard to kill. However, if he's trapped at the bottom of the lake by a water-type monster, he'll use up an astonishing amount of oxygen. Without oxygen to breathe underwater, he might suffocate to death. LuoFeng turned his head and looked towards the island. Silence. The entire island was silent. Only the sound of the wind blowing through the tree branches could be heard. Among advanced-level wargods, I'm pretty close to invincible right now. Unless it's an emperor-level monster, under normal circumstances, it's unlikely for me to be killed. Let's go take a look inside the island. LuoFeng couldn't suppress his curiosity. Along with his confidence in his own strength, LuoFeng raised his hexagonal shield and ghost blade to the max and was ready to attack with his throwing knife. Just like that. He carefully entered the island and disappeared into the mist in the distance as he started his exploration. After a while, on the beach on the other side of the island. Die. An angry roar rang out, and the lake at the edge of the beach suddenly rose. Blood splattered everywhere and a black figure soared into the sky, landing on the beach. Finally, I've reached the shore. The black figure slumped onto the beach. After a long time he finally caught his breath. Scary, what a scary lake. Li Yao's face was filled with fear as he looked at the huge lake in front of him. When he was young, Li Yao had traveled all over the world. He had even traveled to lakes that were much larger than this lake in front of him. He had even fought with the monsters in the sea. But Li Yao had never been in such a difficult situation before. He had never been so close to death. Just now, when he was crazily fleeing for his life underwater, he had already run into more than 10 high lord rank aquatic monsters. There were even more lord class monsters. In other words, most of the aquatic monsters in the lake were very powerful. There are countless commander level water type monsters, but soldier level monsters are few and far between. What kind of lake is this? I've never heard of such a scary lake in the world. Li Yao's face was ugly. In a lake with a circumference of 100 miles, I've already run into more than 10 high lord rank monsters. I'm afraid that the entire lake has close to 100 high lord rank monsters. With this ratio, I'm afraid that even China's number 003 city, the place known as the Monster Den, wouldn't be much stronger than this. And in terms of danger, this lake was clearly much scarier than number 003 city's original Shanghai. After all, the aquatic monsters here are more concentrated, and the water has a limit on the strength of human fighters. Pu. Li Yao coughed and spat out 2 mouthfuls of blood. The water does have a huge limit on my strength. If I was on land and faced 10 high lord rank monsters, even if I couldn't win I could still escape. But this time, I'm badly injured. Li Yao couldn't help but spat out another mouthful of blood. He sat on the beach and began to rest. He was very clear on how serious his injuries were this time. His right arm was broken and 2 of his ribs were broken. His internal organs were seriously injured. Even though the Black God Set's defensive capabilities are very strong, it's not very effective against pure gravity attacks. And in the water, Li Yao was trapped alive and almost strangled to death. Even though he risked his life to escape, his ribs were still crushed and his internal organs were heavily injured. Right now I need to rest. If I fight a large battle, it'll cause even more damage to my body. Li Yao no longer had any arrogance. He was completely scared of the lake. Thankfully he had the Black God Set. Otherwise even if he had 10 lives he'd still be dead. Venina, Li Yao picked up his wife's phone. Confirm LuoFeng's current coordinates for me. As he said that, Li Yao couldn't help but to pant heavily. His chest felt very uncomfortable. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and turn on the notifications so you won't miss any of our upcoming great videos.